Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Arknights Enfield, I thought I'd talk a little bit about rerolling and whether it's something you may want to do in the game when it launches. As one of the things, every time I start a new gacha game, I like to think about is whether or not it's going to be worth my time to reroll in it. Now, most games I end up rerolling, especially if it has an easy process. Everybody from my Uma Musume audience probably already knows I spent like 8 hours rerolling on that game, but it was literally a 1-minute reroll that didn't take long at all, and you were able to basically farm out extremely good luck because of that. That got you off to a very strong start. Now, in Arknights Enfield, the main thing's going to be really focusing on trying to get a specific character you want, whether it's trying to get an early limited character or an early standard character that you specifically want. Now, I will say one of the things Arknights Enfield doesn't have that sometimes you might have in other games, Girls Frontline 2 being the case for me, was I would like to reroll on the limited banner to a lost 50/50, so that way I could guarantee the rate up character on a first soft pity. But in this case, there is no guarantee after losing a 50/50, so that's one option that's completely off the table in the sense of trying to force a lost 50/50 to then make it cost less pulls to get the limited character. Now, there are some other things that I've been just kind of reading on that really kind of seems to dissuade wanting to reroll in this game, and that is the amount of time it's going to take just to do a full reroll and what we're kind of expecting in terms of the amount of pulls. Now, I've pulled up a Reddit post where someone kind of made a quick guide on it. Now, everything is still up in the air and how the process is going to work because a lot of it's coming off of the beta versus what we're actually going to see, especially when it comes to the pull currency on launch. Now, we have gotten a good idea, which we'll take a look at here, just based on what we saw on the live stream. But even that doesn't give a full indicator. And so the first thing that I've seen noted is, unlike a game like Uma Musume, where you could just keep resetting your data, basically deleting it and using the same account over and over again. It looks like this is going to be a case where you're going to want to use salted emails, and this is just going based off prior Arknights and all that and how it works. And if you don't know how salted email works, it's basically you can use your main email. You just always have to have some different variation of it where it then forwards the emails to it. So in the case of like Girls Frontline 2, that process was effectively adding a +1 for the first email, then +2 for the second, and you just keep doing that every time you register and start a new game or a new run. And then eventually when you settle on one, that is basically your account. Now, some games allow you to basically change it, and then you can just change it to your normal email without that +1, 2, 3, or 4. I don't know what the case is going to be here. But just know it looks like we will have to deal with salted emails and there isn't any way to reset data. But we won't know until we actually have launch, which I'll be making a video on rerolling as soon as the game launches. And I've gone basically through the entire game up to the point of where I would reroll. Now, the other thing that looks to be dissuading people would be the 20 to 40 minutes per reroll. And this 20 seems to be on the low side because what I've been reading is it's more like 30 to 40. And the amount of pulls you're looking to get in that amount of time is going to be 30 to 40 pulls. One of the problems with that is 30 to 40 pulls is not going to guarantee a character. So you're not going to hit any guarantee with these pulls. And thus, not only are you trying to beat the odds on getting lucky and getting a character, but I'm going to guess the case most people reroll for is to get a specific character. And so that is a big way to dissuade me from wanting to do it, just from the sake of the amount of time you're going to have to spend. I always like to make the joke when it comes to gacha games if you have something like this that you're going to be grinding for like 40 minutes and then it's going to take you 10 plus hours to just get what you want, you might as well do something like Uber Eats and then just grind out some money and just pay to win your way to what you want. Which it's always been a joke to me, but it actually makes sense to a certain extent. And so that is a big negative. And then it kind of can get you behind the curve, especially if you're doing this for days. As we can kind of see, there are rewards that you're going to be getting as you do login and all that over time. And so you're going to just be behind the curve by rerolling as well. So that's something that kind of dissuades you there. But with that, let's go ahead and see what they say the kind of the process is going to be. Now, this is a person that has rerolled in Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, and HSR. These games all had fairly long reroll processes. I did it in Honkai Star Rail. I did not have to actually do it in Wuthering Waves, but I had extremely good luck in my first run of it. I got like exactly what I wanted in a first 10 pull, but it was a little bit more tedious on that side of things. So they have experience with these games that take a little bit longer to get through it. And so there are two different ways to approach it. They give you their plan. I'll kind of give you mine. The ways I would approach it is with how their banners are going are first, whether or not you want to try and go for that early standard banner character that you want. Because with the limited banner, if you're willing to spend money, which is a case with me, that one's not as big of a deal. I'll just spend money if I need to get up to the pity to get the limited character. The standard's a little bit different, and then it's random. There's no way to guarantee a specific one, so you can re-roll for that specific standard character you want. That's one direction, and that's the one that's going to be a little bit easier just for the fact that we're going to most likely have more standard pulls to work with. The other approach, and this is kind of unique to Arknights, if we actually look at how the gacha system is going to work here, in that they have not only the limited rate up character, but they have like basically the two priors. And so that's going to be the banner including 3 specifically limited characters that you can get on it. And so one way to approach it is trying to lose the 50-50 to the actual rate up character, but winning and getting one of the other 2 limited characters that'll be included on the banner, but aren't specifically the rated up one. And I think in their case here, which I keep losing track of where I'm at, in their case here, I think one of them was trying to get like Gilberta, who is not going to be the first rate up character, but you can get her on the banner. Now with limited pulls, which we'll look at a gacha, just to kind of give you an indicator of how many pulls it's going to take to potentially pull off this luck, depending on the amount of pulls we get. That could take quite a bit of time to pull off. And depending on, and this was made before the live stream, so we kind of already have the details. And so that's one approach. And then there's always the just getting the limited character early. Maybe you're free to play, you want to get the limited rate up right off the bat. Then you just re-roll to try and get them early. You get them early, and now you can stockpile your pulls for the next limited character. And then you just gamble on whatever you get with the standard character on the beginner banner that will guarantee at least one of them. And we already do know, if one of your characters that you wanted was Ardelia, she's going to be free just through the release celebration mission. So you'll be able to get her quite easily from that. And so how the process will work, though, is basically log in, play through the game like you do with any reroll, and then get to that point where you get the banner open, as well as the pulls to a certain amount of pulls that are basically going to make it worth the time investment. Sometimes you might get access to the banner like very quickly within like 15 minutes, but you have like 5 pulls, versus if you go all the way to 30 or 40 minutes and push through to unlock a couple more 10 pulls, the odds are better statistically in your favor in that case. And then once you get, if you get it or you don't get it, or if you get what you want, good, you just keep with that count and continue from there. If you don't, that's where you reroll. That's fairly straightforward, and I'll be making a video on launch to kind of explain that process. Whether or not I decide to reroll or not, it's looking like I'm probably not going to, but I'll still make a video on what that process will be. And then you just kind of go from there. Now, to help you make that decision, that's kind of what this video is, whether or not it's going to be worth your effort, in the sense of, if you look at the gacha here, now when we take a look at the rates here, we have a 0.8% chance to get the 6-star. So that is going to be basically what you want to use in a calculator to kind of showcase it. Now I'm going to use this gacha calculator. I always love to use this to kind of see what the average amount of time it's going to take to get what you want, to help decide on whether it's going to be worth it or not. And so right now you have how many pulls you expect to have and the current rate. So I will be making a video, like I said, once it launches and it gets to that point to know how many pulls you actually will have, to further help you on the launch of the game. We don't have the exact details, but right now I've seen estimates of 30 pulls if you go to that full 40 minutes process of a reroll. And so we'll use that as kind of our indicator here. Now, as you can see, if you're going for one of the standard banner units, you have 5 of them. So if you have a very specific one that you want, you just basically have to take whatever your odds are of getting one and times it by 20%. And on the limited, it's going to be kind of a certain extent, but you have to deal with that 50-50 in the math there, so it's even lower. And one thing I know some people probably might target, which is probably the best way to go about it, is since we'll be getting Ardelia as a free character, maybe you just re-roll to make sure you don't get her. And then you have a 4 out of 5 chance, and then you're very close to whatever the odds are here, because you can just multiply it by that. So if you're pulling on the banner, we get 30 pulls within a reroll of 40 minutes with a 0.8% chance. Just know you're not hitting pity on any of these. So there's no guarantees. You have to luck out and actually get the operator on that 0.8% in the amount of pulls. The math says that 20% or 22% of the time, you will get a 6-star. And so if you think about that, it's about 1 in every 5 runs. And then if you're one of those people that goes crazy to get like that extreme luck, you're looking at 1 in 50, or basically about a 2% to get more than 1 in 30 pulls. Now, if we get 40, the math changes there as well, but not too much. I mean, it's higher, but you're going from like a 22 closer to a 28. So a little bit better, but it doesn't change much. It really doesn't go. And if we somehow got 80, well, then you got a guarantee, and that would make it great. But that's not going to happen. And if you only have 10 pulls, like right off the bat, maybe you have the 20-minute when you only have 10 pulls, you can see that it's going to take about 1 in, it's 8% chance. So it's going to be like a 1 in 12, 13 runs just to get a 6-star by themselves. And so that's why you can see that even though it might take a little bit longer to unlock a few more 10 pulls, it dramatically increases your odds and reduces the amount of rerolls you're going to have to do. This is probably your best case scenario, I would think. Oops, I went too far up there. We'll stay with 40, but kind of your best case. So a 1 in 4-ish, or a 1 in 4, 1 in 5-ish chance to get one. And then if you're going for a very specific character here, since there's 5 of them, you multiply it by 5. So 1 in 5 basically becomes 1 in 25. No, it's going to take about 25 runs to get that specific character you want on average. Key thing is on average. It could take 1 in 100. I went way below average when I did my Uma Musume runs. Luckily, their reruns were very, very quick. And if you think about it, 1 in 25, if it's taking you 30 minutes to do it, you're looking at a 12-hour reroll process. And that is just monotonously grinding the same thing over and over. And that's why I said maybe you just go for a reroll if you're going to reroll to go for a 4 out of 5. Meaning just not get Ardelia, so you get somebody that's not free right off the bat. And then it reduces it to now only a 1 in 10 effective. So you have to do 10 runs. Still 30 minutes. And so that's 5 hours. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. And so it, to me, is a lot of things are really going against you in terms of wanting to reroll on this, especially if you're willing to spend money. I get it with free-to-plays where they're just completely against it. Getting yourself off to a strong start is very, very good. But if you're willing to spend any kind of money, it's not worth your effort, really, in that aspect. Especially if you're going to be taking 12 plus hours, depending on release, you very well will probably miss the first day or potentially second day of reset. And thus, you'll just be behind the curve overall on other stuff from the dailies, weeklies, and all that, depending on how all that works out. And so, yeah, looking at the process, my advice for most, on this one is, this is probably a game not to reroll. And it's one of the very few where I'm probably not going to reroll, in just the sake that, one, I like all the characters are good. The literal worst luck you can get in the sense is going to all the way to the pity on the beginner banner, which isn't that big of a deal. It's the beginner banner. And getting Ardelia. I think getting Ardelia is like the bad outcome. Other than that, you get any of the other 4, they're all very usable. They're all very decent. You're going to get better characters on rate ups down the line anyway. And none of them are like broken to the extent of other games I've played, like Honkai Star Rail, where you get like Bronya. She was very, very good for a very long time, in the sense that you really wanted her versus the others. This one doesn't give me that feeling, and I would pretty much like any one of the characters, other than getting a dupe, of course, of the one they're giving for free. So I'll probably be just going with whatever I get and accepting my luck at that point. But that's just kind of my thoughts on the reroll. I thought I'd make just a little bit of a video talking about it. I'll be making a video on launch day of exactly what you're going to need to do if you want to reroll. Regardless if I do it or not, I'll make the video showcasing it, even if I don't, just for those that want to, because as soon as it drops, you're just going to want to get right into it to get that reroll process done as quickly as possible so you can get playing the game, because I know that's what most of us want to do. But yeah, that'll be it for now. And if you like my content, if you like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.